Hello everybody. I thought I'll have a look at the arena on Hamza's Den again. There is a segment that I will analyse here with Naturalist, who has been on before. There are new Dawa propagandists here. Let's see what they have to say.
Naturalist, they do, mate.
We can talk about God creating man from clay, or we can talk about Surah chapter 21 verse 30.
I normally don't comment on scripture, just the science, but I did keep this bit in because of the hilarious and miraculous reinterpretation by Hamza, which you will see later.
It's kind of interesting because doesn't that kind of sound like abiogenesis? Well, evolution of fish, like everything came from water, right?
Are you doing exegesis of the Quran to support Darwinian evolution?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, you realize...
Are you serious?
Come on, man, you can't do that.
Why not? A lot of people have.
What do you mean, why not?
Why is it necessary, naturalist? Why do you need to make Darwinism or evolution... why do you need it to fit with the Quran? Or why do you need to interpret the Quran in light of Darwinian evolution?
I don't really need to. I just thought it was an interesting point to discuss, because it says we created them, every living thing from water.
Before you take it to the philosophical realm, right? Do you understand that in the Quran there are ambiguous verses and there are clear verses? So you have muhkamat and mutashabihat. Okay, so why are you choosing to ignore the clear verse of where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that He is the creator, right? And you're going straight to the ambiguity and trying to support Darwinian evolution from an entire book that's basically contradicting it.
Well, this one isn't. It's saying we created everything for every living thing from water.
You plucked something out,
Yeah.
right? If I wanted to, I can take everything out of context, right? And build my own story.
Who decides on the context? What's the point of having any book that is ambiguous and open to multiple interpretations?
Why do you do that?
I don't know. It was an interesting.
It was fun.
Interesting
like
thing.
it's fun. It's a joke to you, you know.
Yeah,
bro, come on. You have to approach it a little bit more sincerely than that, dude. You're talking about the creator of the universe. You have to give it its credence and its.
I'm trying to find justification for abiogenesis and evolution. I'm trying to find the common ground, or where the creator said we created everything from nothing or whatever, and we evolved things.
Yeah, but
unfortunately, the creator says that it created everything, man from clay or mud, whichever interpretation you want.
This is the bit that made me laugh out loud. Hamza has used his miraculous powers of reinterpretation to determine that the clay that is mentioned in the Quran actually means carbon. Here are the relevant verses. Unsurprisingly, the story of humans being made from clay appears in other religions, so it is almost certainly borrowed from those religions.
You have different streams of Muslims. Some Muslims make a way of putting forward arguments where they find that evolution could be congruent with Islamic creed, and some Muslims say no, or they hold a neutral position, and some Muslims will support intelligent design. So it's not a deal breaker, as in like Muslims we could take our pick. Insofar as you don't reject anything that's within the Quran, that's clear. So for example, if somebody rejected that Adam was the first man and we're descendants of Adam, then there's a variety of opinions. So there's not really an issue for us.
Don't you think that that's a little bit of a problem? So in the Quran, man is made from clay in at least 3 verses of the Quran, right? So if you're saying, well, there's other verses where it says he's made of carbon.
There is no mention of carbon in the Quran, only what apologists like Hamza infer.
Because we could not be made of clay. We could not be made of clay.
Why am I restricting myself to the scientific explanation?
Because the scientific method is the best approximation to truth that we have, and truth is what purports closest to reality.
I think this is what's happening. I think you're superimposing your epistemic limitations on me. I'm not limited to scientific explanations.
You won't be surprised to find out later on that his epistemology uses weaker routes to explaining reality.
If I gave you evidence, or if the scientific community gave you evidence, okay, that our bodies cannot be created from, I mean, unless there's a miracle, okay, unless you're taking that into account.
Okay,
There you go.
Right? So,
ding, ding, ding.
Congratulations, sir. Welcome to the supernatural.
Welcome to theism.
So that's the reason behind their superior knowledge and epistemology. It's not because of science. No, it's because of miracles, the supernatural, theism, flying horses, unicorn farts, mermaids, and half human and half other animal hybrids.
So check this out, naturalist. You know, there was some thought process that I had several years back on this, man. And I encourage you to think in this way. But technically, you could say that you're eating dirt and sunlight. That's all that you're eating your entire life is dirt and sunlight. Okay. So every single thing that you eat has been planted in some way, shape, or form. And then that plant has been manufactured into whatever. But that plant grew from sunlight. So are you made from clay? AKA, are you eating what you're made from?
By dirt, he just means soil. Notably, he couldn't be any more specific. Clays contain some but less organic matter than soil, so it could not be said that we are consuming clay.
They grew in the clay. That doesn't mean it's like I was born in a house, but I'm not the house, right?
I get it. I totally get it. But you are consuming, if you trace all the way back, you are literally consuming dirt and sunlight.
No, because your use of the word dirt implies you do not really understand organic chemistry.
I don't think you can say you're consuming dirt and dirt and sunlight. The sunlight provided energy for a plant to grow, right? But the plant, the seeds, they're not dirt, they're not mud, they're not clay. They were organic matter, right?
Where the seeds come from?
It grew in the mud or the clay, but it is not. It is not the mud or clay.
You're trying to enforce your epistemology on us. See, look, you explained it perfectly. If you just said that, unless a miracle happens, we're okay. So your problem of abiogenesis is not a problem for us. The jump from inorganic to organic matter happens through the miracle of God creating humans. No problem for us. So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I get why you think it's a problem, and I get why you're looking at us and thinking like, why aren't you guys seeing this as a problem? Once you don't accept that science is the only way to explain things, then there's no problem.
If you take the standard narrative of evolution, there were men evolved from other animals, okay? But there was never a break when suddenly man just appeared, right? According to evolution,
the
right?
Point is why would I do that? Why would I accept the evolutionary narrative?
How about the fact that it is incredibly well supported with evidence?
Do you think the debate is over?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Then you clearly don't know what the history of science has for you, my friend. So
here's the thing. Let me just say, evolution is a fact, okay? But just listen to me. Just listen, okay? Evolution is a fact.
Evolution is undoubtedly a fact. In science, a fact is an observation that has been repeatedly confirmed and for all practical purposes is accepted as true. Truth in science is never absolute. Rather, it means there is overwhelming evidence beyond all reasonable doubt, so to doubt it requires a form of reality denial.
But it doesn't mean that every single thing every single component is already understood or
I'll strengthen your argument.
And we know everything. Okay,
you can
it's
say
like gravity
evolution
is a fact, but we still don't actually know how.
You think gravity is a fact as well?
Yes, it is a fact, as it is objectively verifiable data and an observation that has been repeatedly confirmed. Try telling a skydiver that he can leave his parachute on the plane as gravity is not a fact.
You can say that evolution is evident, okay? But to say that it's a fact is a massive stretch. So the concept of evolution is evident, meaning that there are certain species that evolve to their environment to better suit their environment.
And we have objectively verifiable data that this has happened, so you have just confirmed that evolution is a fact, and you would know that if you understood your terminology.
On that same train of thought, if you think that we came from single-celled organisms or fish, right? I want you to prove to me, how is there an evolution of consciousness? How did I go at one point from thinking like a fish to thinking like a human being?
Consciousness is the state of being aware of and responsive to one's surroundings. So as we evolved from fish to humans, we evolved more complex sense organs and nervous system, which allowed us to become progressively more conscious to what humans have.
Consciousness
It's because you've got nothing. You've literally got absolutely nothing. There has never been a consciousness being evolved from some sort of fish or some, whatever single-celled organism to now a highly complex intellectual being that's having a conversation like you and I are right now.
This just demonstrates the ignorance of somebody who really should sit down and learn some science, especially biology.
Our consciousness is not very far from whales, from other mammals, from elephants, from monkeys that exhibit many of the same traits that we do. We have of course, we have evolved, and there have been other species of human that existed during our evolution, which also contributed. And I'm not saying that we're like monkeys or something like that. Okay, there's a huge gap there from a lost common ancestor, chimpanzees, to us, but they have they have love, they mourn their dead, they
see what you know. I want to basically test to see what is your idea of science. Do you think science can provide proofs?
Science can provide proof, not in the absolute sense like in mathematics or logic, but in the way I described earlier, where there is overwhelming evidence beyond all reasonable doubt.
Yes.
Okay, no, it can't. The highest level of certainty you can have in science is a hypothesis.
And it is at this moment that he demonstrates he does not know what he is talking about. A hypothesis is a tentative statement. The highest form of scientific certainty is a scientific theory. It is a well-established explanation of some aspect of the natural world that can incorporate facts, laws, inferences, and tested hypotheses.
Hypothesis is just an idea. Okay,
No, it's not.
Then you prove that hypothesis through experimentation.
Right now, if you brought that into any philosophy of science department, they would tell you you're wrong. And I'm not just talking about theists. I'm talking about hardcore atheists. That's number one. There's no proof in science.
If you did bring that to a philosophy of science class, they would agree with Naturalist. As to anybody who knows the philosophy of science, they would not consider proof in science to be absolute like in a mathematical sense.
There is best explanation based on a limited data set, and this data set grows, and therefore the best explanations are revised and are only provisional.
Finally, he said something that is correct.
So the highest level of certainty you could get in science is provisional best explanation hypothesis.
Which he then follows up with another blunder.
Look, I have here with me Oxford's publication Intro to Cosmology, yeah?
He then reads about how Newtonian mechanics was replaced by Einstein's theory of relativity, as if science did a complete about-face and therefore can't be trusted. I've addressed this before in other videos, but I'll just repeat it here. Newtonian mechanics works well over a huge domain, but is inaccurate at speeds close to light and at the quantum level. Relativity gives more accurate results in these areas. The same classical mechanics experiments performed by Newton on Earth would provide the same results now as then. Theories in science aren't discarded and replaced by new ones. The new theory still has to account for all the facts that led to the previous theory.
Yes, so the conclusion is what? Just because the last couple hundred years there is a evolutionary model that is popular, and even, by the way, again, some the intelligent design advocates would reject this, but the people who are supporting evolution, even honest atheist professors, who will tell you that, you know what, evolution is a metaphysical project. It is based on a lot of unobservable things. It has a jam-packed with assumptions. However, it is the best explanations we have right now.
This guy rather embarrassingly comes across as like a mini Sabor. It's clear he got his arguments from him. To understand more why evolution is a fact, watch this video by Aaron Ra schooling this guy's master on this topic.
And you have some Muslims who are completely willing to grant you that. However, we don't feel the need as Muslims to justify our beliefs and make it congruent with a scientific theory. Why? Because I'll give you a very easy example from the Quran. The Quran has a verse which could be easily interpreted as that the universe is expanding. Now, there was a long period of time called static state model. In static state model, the universe was eternal. So what do Muslims do? Do they renounce their Islam and stop being Muslims because they lived during the time where the best explanation, according to scientists, was that the universe is not expanding and it's eternal? Well, if they did that and they died upon disbelief and they end up going to hellfire, they would, and if they, now we know that they did that for nothing. Why? Because now we know the best explanation is an inflationary model of Big Bang. All it took was for us to build better telescopes and learn more about the universe.
And this is the very weak evidence behind this claim, where the earth and the heavens are supposedly torn apart. There is, of course, no scientific theory in which the earth and the heavens were torn apart. The earth is about 4.56 billion years old, while the universe is about 13.8 billion years old. And what do they mean by the heavens? Is that the rest of the universe? This vague claim is meaningless and was retrofitted to be in line with Big Bang cosmology. Similar claims are found in old Mesopotamian creation myths.
So the point is, the conclusion is, as Muslims, as non-naturalists, we give science its epistemic value. We give it its right epistemic value. We don't put science, a provisional best explanation method to understand the natural world, on top of revelation given to us from a creator that knows the full data set, which science is just pushing to get to know slowly and surely. That's the conclusion.
So he's saying that revelation supersedes science, but revelation is through ambiguous verses that can be reinterpreted to fit in line with what the current science says. So how is that of any help? What predictive power has it? Tell me anything that was predicted and wasn't retroactively fitted.
I think we might be just talk. No, because I don't think I said.
The Naturalist will bid you good day.
This highlights how clueless Hamza is. He thinks Ismail al-Kennedy has settled the discussion with a smackdown argument and that naturalists should take back everything. The reality is that the discussion is much more nuanced than that, and naturalists would have responded, but Hamza is unable to understand the finer details of the discussion. This was only a short segment from the arena. I never thought there would be this much to say or analyse. This demonstrates how much of this clip was scientifically wrong. Thank you for watching, and please let me know what you think in the comments section.